Ladies and gentlemen, today I have a doozy for you. If you didn't know, about 2 years ago during Black Ops 4, I made a video that was ranking all of the Call of Duty games from worst to best. Now, today we're going to be doing something similar, but it's what you guys asked. Instead of looking at the multiplayers, today I'm going to be looking at every single Call of Duty campaign and ranking them, putting them on a scale of 1 to 10, and at the end of the video, I'm going to be giving you my overall list from best to worst of what the best Call of Duty campaigns are. Now, before we dive in, I just have to say, this is a lot of opinion. In fact, this is almost solely opinion. So the odds are that your favorite game or your order is even close to mine is extremely, extremely rare. Now, with each game, I'm going to go in depth, probably for 2-3 minutes, about what exactly the reasons are that I like or dislike that individual campaign. So basically what I'm telling you is this video took me forever to make. And I don't do this very often, but I'm going to ask you guys, if you enjoy this video, you like what you see here, maybe even want to see more videos like this, please hit that like button. I really do appreciate it. I don't ask for likes often, but this video took me forever to make. So without further ado, we're going to go from the first Call of Duty to the most recent Call of Duty. So from Call of Duty 1 to Black Ops Cold War. And we're going to kind of like skip things like Call of Duty Mobile and stuff like that. Just the full on launches, no DLC like the big red one. So let's start with the very beginning. Call of Duty 1. So what makes me decide whether or not I like or dislike a Call of Duty campaign is essentially three things: how good the story is, after that, the memorable moments, aka the really good missions, and then finally, the last thing after that is the gameplay. Yeah, believe it or not, for me in Call of Duty campaigns, the gameplay is actually the least important, but you're gonna see in several cases, it actually really helps the game, Black Ops Cold War actually being one of them. Now, as far as the first three Call of Duties, all three of them fall into the same trap as far as story goes. They fall into these type of video games that are centered around World War II and don't actually have much story based off of the individual characters. The story is more so what happened in World War II. And history is cool and all, but it only takes a story so far. That is why a lot of the World War II movies that are so popular are based around people and use the missions in the war as kind of like a backbone to tell the story. Saving Private Ryan is a perfect example of that. Now, out of the first three Call of Duty games, the one that actually focuses, I would say, the most on characters is actually Call of Duty 1, which was the introduce of Captain Price, or Grandpappy Price, as I like to call him. Now, the downsides of the first Call of Duty game is that there was no auto health regen. If you wanted to get health back, you had to run around and try to find a health pack, which I personally hate in first-person shooter games. So all in all, I'm not going to go too in-depth with these first three games. I give them an easy 5 out of 10. For the time, they were really good, but to stand up to the current Call of Duty campaigns, it's very difficult to do so. Just average, 5 out of 10 for Call of Duty 1. Call of Duty 2. This is the exact same as Call of Duty 1. In fact, the story actually takes place before Call of Duty 1. Now, I will say, I would probably say the gameplay is much better in this game. You have health regen, and on top of this, it just plays a little bit better. It was their second iteration of this first-person shooter World War II game. But I do have to say, I don't like the story as much, and I don't know whether that's just not liking the missions as much or just not liking the characters as much. I'm not exactly sure. What I will say is it's still just an average Call of Duty game. It was great for the time. The multiplayer, this is where it was introduced to Call of Duty, but that doesn't bring any extra points for the campaign. So honestly, I'm just going to give this one 5 out of 5 as well, and we'll figure out our placements at the end of the video. World War II 3. aka Call of Duty 3. This was my least favorite of the first three. I don't really have any reasons for it. The one thing I will say is, in my opinion, the graphics are much better in this game compared to the first three, but it just felt rushed. The character models, things along those lines, and the gameplay itself just felt rushed. And that is because I believe the game was made in like 7 months. So it literally was rushed. To me, this was the worst of the first 3 games, but not by a lot. It's not a huge difference. Like I said before, it once again falls into that trap where it just tells a World War II story and not an individual character story or the story of a bunch of different characters, as we're going to see throughout the rest of the Call of Duty games. So for that, it's a little bit worse than the first 2, at least in my opinion. 4.5 out of 10.
Ready up.
Here's where things start to get good. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. This is by far, out of any of the games that we're going to see on this list, the biggest jump from Call of Duty 3 to Call of Duty 4. There is so much difference. This game is really good. It was so far out of its time, and at the time, very few games actually went into modern combat. You had like your Counter-Strike and your Rainbow Six, but there wasn't really any heavily in-depth single-player modern combat games, especially ones that did it this well. Not to mention, this is where Call of Duty started to figure out that they can not just be a war game, and they can actually tell a story of a character.
Right. What the hell kind of name is Soap, eh? How'd a muppet like you pass selection?
And Call of Duty 4 is simply about Captain John Price. Yeah, Soap McTavish and other characters like Gaz were introduced, but their story really wasn't told. What they figured out is that if they took a soldier like Captain Price and told a bit of his backstory, the mission All Gillied Up, which to be quite honest with you, is one of, if not the most memorable Call of Duty mission for a lot of people out of any Call of Duty games, this is where they started telling stories with Captain Price. Now, the downside to this is they didn't really tell anyone else's story very well. Soap was just introduced as Captain Price's little brother, basically, and the rest of the characters had no backstory aside from yelling things in the background. The other thing that I didn't think they did very well was the bad guys. Compared to the other Modern Warfare games, which we're going to talk about, of course, the bad guy in this one just isn't so great. That being said, there is a moment that is absolutely fantastic, and this is where they started to realize they can also do these big plot twist moments, and in this game, that is the nuke.
We have a confirmed nuke. Everyone hang on!
These are what I like to call the holy crap moments in Call of Duty. This is where the plot totally turns on its head and there is one big twist. And in Call of Duty 4, that is when the nuke goes off when you're raiding the Middle Eastern village. And at the time, you're trying to escape in the helicopter when you find out that it is a trap. They basically got you to bring in 30,000 American soldiers to blow up a nuke and kill them all. Albeit this is incredibly similar to Black Ops Cold War's plot, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Call of Duty wouldn't be what it is today without this game, without the story that is told in this game. Because, like I said, this is when things started to click for Call of Duty and they realized, oh, we don't just have to tell a war story, we can tell a story about characters. And that's what Captain Price did for the story. Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, 8.75 out of 10. This game was awesome. Call of Duty Going Back in Time, aka World at War. This one is a huge step back for the Call of Duty series. After Call of Duty 4, they go back to World War II and once again, just tell a World War II story. Now, here's the proof of this. What is the name of the main character, the one that you play in this game? Of course, some of you are going to know it, but I bet the majority of you, well, either didn't play it or can't remember it. That's because your character doesn't matter. The name of your character has no tie-in with anything else in the Call of Duty series, and they're once again, like I said before, just telling a World War II story, which can be done well, as we're going to see in a future game. But in this game, they're just telling you the story of the various different battles that you go to. That being said, they do some good things with introducing Viktor Reznov later in the game. But once again, his individual story in this game really doesn't matter until you get into the future Call of Duty games and they give him an actual backstory. There's no backstory given for really any characters in this game, and it's just a look at various different battles. That being said, they did introduce the COD 4 gameplay, and because of that, the game did get better. So all in all, this is probably one of the biggest disappointments after Call of Duty 4, so I only give this one 6 out of 10. This game doesn't pull any punches. Modern Warfare 2 starts out with a mission called Cliffhanger, where you are playing as a character called Roach, and Soap is now your mentor. The mentee becomes the mentor. You don't know where Captain Price is, but don't worry, he comes back in later. And this is exactly what this game does very, very well. It creates a group of soldiers as opposed to just one individual soldier, them being called Task Force 141. In this game, you have Soap, you have Roach, you have Ghost, you have Captain Price, and then you have General Shepard as well. But what this game does better than any other Call of Duty game is the bad guys. In this game, Vladimir Makarov is pure evil, and the mission that shows that is No Russian. Speaking of missions that you will always remember, No Russian was super controversial at the time, but the reason why they put this in the game wasn't just to be controversial, is it showed you exactly how evil Vladimir Makarov was. Without this mission, it doesn't really make any sense why the world is trying to hunt him down throughout the rest of the campaign. And there was an option to play this campaign without this mission. And like I said, it just doesn't hit the same without it. But what goes even further is with one of the biggest plot twists of any Call of Duty game.
You have the DSM. We got it, sir.
Good. That's one less loose end.
So after General Shepard kills Ghost and Roach, all of a sudden the game shifts and you are no longer hunting Makarov. In fact, Makarov is helping you hunt General Shepard, and that is how the game actually ends. And I think this is such an elegant way of doing this game. All of a sudden you have to side with this super evil character to take care of someone who's even more evil and has lied to the American government. And I just love that aspect of the story. The gameplay on top of this was on point for the time. It's gotten a little bit better since then, but still, Call of Duty gameplay has always been something that's reigned supreme. And just with this, the storytelling of the individual good guys, the amazing bad guys in this game is one of my favorites of all time. 9 out of 10.
Wake up. Wake up.
Where am I? Where's Reznov?
Black Ops 1, without a shadow of a doubt, is the best written Call of Duty game by a long shot, not even close. First of all, it is the first Call of Duty game to really not tell its story in a linear fashion. The game starts out with Alex Mason being interrogated by some mystery person and having to remember what these numbers in his head mean. And going through his memories, he finds out a bunch of information about various different things, about getting trapped and going to Vorkuta prison, where he meets Viktor Reznov, the character from World at War. First game where you start to tie these multiple series together, which in my opinion is really, really cool. After this, he escapes from the prison and is then working with these numbers in his head to figure out what exactly they are, working alongside one of the best characters ever in a Call of Duty game, Frank Woods. And slowly throughout the game, you see Mason begin to crack until he gets to Rebirth Island and runs into Frederick Steiner. At this point, he murders him in cold blood, thinking that he himself is Viktor Reznov. And with the big plot twist at the end, you realize that Mason was actually brainwashed while in Vorkuta prison, and Reznov has been dead the entire time. It is the best plot twist ever in a Call of Duty game. The only thing that I don't think was done that well is the bad guy. I don't think it's as good as Vladimir Makarov, but what they do in this game is create a bunch of bad guys. You have Steiner, you have Dragovich, you have Kravchenko, all of them kind of working together, but none of them is that super evil character like we saw with Vladimir Makarov. But just from a storytelling perspective, this game is hands and feet above the rest. It is so damn good, and this one is 9.5 out of 10.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3.
So Modern Warfare 3 starts out exactly where Modern Warfare 2 left off, with the death of General Shepard. And I think that's pretty cool. However, all right, I have a feeling some of you are going to hate me for this one, but I'm just going to come out and say it. Modern Warfare 3 is the worst campaign out of any of the Modern Warfare games. That being said, it doesn't mean it's a bad game. Now, my biggest gripe with this game is that there's really no memorable missions. There's no missions that are the be-all end-all. There is, however, I think the most heartfelt scene out of any Call of Duty game, and that is Soap McTavish's death.
Put pressure on the wound. Yes. Not now, son. Just rest. Get a medic! Come on, stay with me, son. Nice. Oh, no, 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 no! Soap! No, no, no! Soap! You have to go now! Get off me! I'm sorry.
This scene is so good for so many different reasons. Even leaving the pistol with Soap represents all 3 Call of Duty games. If you haven't checked out my video on this one, I do a video just dedicated to this scene. That's how good it is. And in that same mission, I love the way that they tie in Yuri to the previous Modern Warfare games, and they actually show that Makarov was the one to launch the nuke in Call of Duty 4 and tie everything together. And that is why Modern Warfare 3 is actually the end of this series, is because the bad guy throughout the whole thing was actually Makarov. You just didn't see him in the first game, which I thought was a pretty cool way of tying it all together. But I still think the rest of the game, the other missions, just aren't very memorable and aren't as fun. So all in all, I think this is the worst Modern Warfare game, but still decent. 7.5 out of 10. All right, this one is really tough for me because there are some parts of Black Ops 2 that are incredible. All of the flashback scenes where old Frank Woods is telling you about his time in the war with Mason, how he is saved from Angola, how him and Mason go after Raul Menendez, and eventually Frank Woods tells David Mason, Alex Mason's son, about how Frank Woods was the one responsible for his death is just an amazing storyline.
Dad. No! Dad!
There's nothing you could have done, Frank. It wasn't your fault.
Me and your old man. We were the best. And we still couldn't stop them.
Well, times have changed, old man.
However, then you have the other side of things. If you really look at the story of Black Ops 2, the entire future part of the story really doesn't matter aside from the last mission. If the entire campaign was based off of Alex Mason and Frank Woods flashbacks, and then the very last mission you just got to play as David Mason where you go to capture Raul Menendez, the game would pretty much be exactly the same. All of those future missions just really don't matter, and honestly, the story, other than with David Mason, isn't really important. That being said, though, if you do the canon ending and get to see the interaction between David Mason and Alex Mason, that part's pretty damn cool. But this is actually a problem that Black Ops Cold War has as well, which we'll talk about in a bit, but it's just how good of characters Alex Mason and Frank Woods are. The other characters in the game just can't really live up to that. So here's why it's hard for me to rate this game, is because half of the game is like a 9.5 out of 10 with the Frank Woods and Alex Mason part. The David Mason part is like a 6 out of 10. So I don't know, combine that together, 7.6 out of 10. This has got to be one of the most unfortunate Call of Duty games of all time, because all in all, the campaign in this game is actually pretty damn good. Unfortunately, everyone hated the multiplayer, so the campaign kind of got a bad rap as well. The interesting thing about this campaign is it actually follows the story of 2 brothers and their father, the Walkers, and they are part of the Ghosts, and they do very sneaky and stealthy missions and have some pretty cool missions all in all, and the backstory of the Ghost is really what makes this game so damn cool.
He expressed warnings to others of a force so menacing and unbeatable, it could only be described as supernatural. He called them ghosts.
Even the bad guy in this game is pretty damn good. Rourke is a pretty good bad guy with a decent backstory. And that's the thing with this game, is all of the characters are given a backstory, at least all of the main characters, which I think is probably the best part. All in all, it's written pretty good. I wouldn't say there's too many memorable missions, which is kind of unfortunate, but they do one of my cardinal sins in movies, video games, TV shows. If you end on a cliffhanger, you gotta follow it up with something, and there is an explanation for it. I've made a video on it, but it's just unfortunate because a second Ghost campaign would have actually been pretty good, but because the multiplayer was bad, we never got a follow-up of what happened to Logan Walker. And honestly, it's like -1 point just for that. So I give this one a 6.9 out of 10. Nice. Infinite Warfare. Interesting one, because the campaign as a whole, how it's written, how it plays, isn't very good. However, the bad guy, Jonathan Irons, is the second best bad guy ever in a Call of Duty game. Right next to Vladimir Makarov is Jonathan Irons. Whether you hate Kevin Spacey or not, he knocks this role out of the park. Maybe because he's evil in real life, or maybe because he's just a good actor, but he is incredible in this part, and it literally saves the campaign. If it was any other bad guy in this role, this campaign would be awful, but he literally saves the entire thing. In a campaign that would be one of my least favorites, it gets like bumped up quite a substantial bit just because of Jonathan Irons. Without him, I would probably give this a 3 out of 10. With him, I think it's a 5.5 out of 10. Actually, you know what? 5.6 out of 10. We got a pretty good meme out of it. All right, here we go. Black Ops 3. Black Ops 3 actually has an interesting premise. Introducing the direct neural interfaces is a pretty cool idea. But that's about where the good things of this campaign end. As a story, they don't give you any good background information on any of the characters whatsoever. They just start randomly killing them off, giving them this direct neural interface brain virus. The only cool thing in this campaign is the frozen forest at the very end. But because they don't explain it very well or lead up to it very well, it's just kind of a random mission and a mush of other missions. Now, I've made a video explaining this campaign, and once it's explained, it's actually a pretty cool premise. However, they just do such a bad job of portraying it, and with things like this, there's a movie called Predestation, and it is complex just to be complex. If you've ever seen the movie, you gotta watch it about 6 times to make any sense of it whatsoever. Now, this is the Predestation of video games. You have to just kind of read and look up what this game is actually all about to make any sense of it. And the reason why it's so bad is at the very end of the game, generally when there's something that's this confusing, there has to be a big payoff at the end. This is the payoff in Black Ops 3.
Imagine yourself
What's your name, soldier?
in a frozen forest.
I said, what's your name?
Taylor.
This just seems like a game where the developers were trying to be smarter than everyone that played the game and just did a horrible job upon executing. Not to mention, I just don't give a shit about any of the characters in this game. All in all, I really don't like this one. 2.5 out of 10. Oh, so you thought I was hard on Black Ops 3. Well, I'm going to be even harder on Infinite Warfare. I hate this campaign. Out of all of the games on this list, it is the only campaign that I've only played once. Now, they do some good things and some interesting things like adding in side missions and things like that. The problem is I just found every single character in this game so unrelatable, and their motivations and what they do just make no sense. Some of the motivations that they do throughout this game is, oh, we're just soldiers, this is what we do. There's no emotion in it, there's no relating to the characters, there's no backstory. It just was incredibly boring, and by the very end, when some characters die, I just didn't really care. I don't know. I know a lot of people like this campaign. Some people say it's so much better than the multiplayer, which is probably true in this game. But I just really did not like this campaign. It is by far one of my least favorites. And yeah, I'm giving it a 1.5 out of 10. I know, really harsh, just my opinion though. Maybe I need to give it a second chance though. Call of Duty World War II, here we go again, except this time it's different. It's actually really, really good. This, in my opinion, is the most underrated Call of Duty campaign that there is. It is well written. The graphics are awesome, especially for the time. It is actually a good World War II story. Remember how I was talking about the original Call of Duty games, how they just kind of told the story of various different missions? That is not what this game does. It tells the story of prisoners of war, of your character Red Daniels and his backstory, and goes in depth to his motivations, how he feels, and actually adds some emotion to the characters that you are playing in a World War II game. It basically took the premise of those old Call of Duty games and added the storytelling element that games are so good with. Sledgehammer made a massive step forward compared to Advanced Warfare. Now, this game suffers in one area where there isn't really just one bad guy. You're fighting against an entire army. And this is another problem that World War II games have. There's very rarely that one bad guy that is super evil. But the way that they do the individual characters in this game is so good. It almost reminds me of Band of Brothers a little bit. So this one might surprise you. I put this at 8 out of 10. It's actually one of my favorite Call of Duty campaigns. So this one we can go through pretty quick. Black Ops 4 didn't have a campaign. However, it's actually a really, really good story. If you watch the cutscenes that are in the game, it's a much, much better and well thought out story than Black Ops 3. They give you a backstory on every single character in the game, their motivations, why they do what they do, why they look like how they look, and what augmentations their body actually has. I wish there would have been a campaign for this game. I'm still going to give it a score because the story is actually pretty good. I give it a 4 out of 10. That's right, better than Black Ops 3. And there's not even a campaign. Modern Warfare 2019, the reboot of the Modern Warfare series. This was a game that when it came out, I thought I was not going to like the campaign. I didn't like the idea of rebooting the series and trying all over again when the first ones in the first campaigns were so damn good. But boy, was I pleasantly surprised. The characters in this game are so well fleshed out, their motivations so well explained, the cutscenes are great, it looks great, feels great. They knocked it out of the park with this game. Now, the one problem that this game has, and I've talked about this before, is too many bad guys. It's kind of like the princesses in another castle theory, where you go and take out one bad guy and there's just another one popping up. You have the Butcher, the Wolf, Roman Barkov, and then when that's over, you have the next characters, Imran Zakhaev, Victor Zakhaev, Khalid al-Assad. There's like 18 different bad guys in this game, and that's really the one complaint that I have. But all in all, this game is really damn good. 8.9 out of 10. And then last, but definitely not least, we have Black Ops Cold War. Now, there's a problem I have with this campaign. First of all, I think a lot of you who watch this channel think Black Ops Cold War is a really good campaign. I more so think it's a little bit above average. I think there's two really big problems with this campaign. First of all, I love the bad guy in this. I love that it is some mysterious force that you're trying to figure out who it is. The other thing I love about this campaign is the gameplay is not your stereotypical Call of Duty game. The KGB mission where you have to kind of sneak through the headquarters and solve a puzzle. Love that mission. There's other missions that just don't feel like a Call of Duty game, and I think moving forward, the campaigns don't necessarily need to be this big Michael Bay movie. They can make these interesting different missions that aren't just a first-person shooter style mission. I hope we see more of that. Now, the problems come in where Adler is the main character of this campaign, yet they don't tell you anything about him. You don't know why he is the way he is. The only reason why I was able to make a backstory video on him is because I dove into the extra information that is outside of the game and you have to read up on. The best two characters in this game are Frank Woods and Alex Mason, and the only reason why they are is because you know the most about them. You know their motivations, you know their backstory, whereas Park, Lazar, Sims, Adler, they just didn't give you enough of where they came from, why they're here, or where they go. The big question right now is, why is Adler not in Black Ops 2? And they didn't answer any of those questions. Maybe they will in future games, but I wish there was just more backstory on those characters, and I think they could have done that because the campaign is actually relatively short. Even if it's just a 1.5 to 2 minute cutscene that is their backstory or something that happened, how Adler got his scar. That is where I think this campaign swings and misses the most, is with the lack of emotion and how I feel about the characters in game. For example, when I have to choose between Lazar and Park, first of all, of course I simp for Park, but it didn't really matter because those two characters weren't really a big part of the story. So, decent campaign, really good twist at the end. I won't spoil it because it is the newest thing, but just that lack of backstory really takes off a bunch of points. So with this campaign, we're just going to finish off easily with a nice 7 out of 10. So ladies and gentlemen, that is every Call of Duty campaign ranked. This is my opinion. If you disagree, if you agree, feel free to let me know down in the comments. Let me know what your order is. I'm scrolling through them here on screen. I'm not going to read them all out again. We're already at a half hour. So if you enjoyed, it's always appreciated if you hit that like button. New to the channel, like what you see, feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'm really curious to hear what your order is, what your favorite campaigns are. Let me know down in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching. And until next time.
Taylor.
Worst ending ever.
We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this too